One of the key attributes of Canada's culture is our love of hockey. Hockey was crafted in the harsh climate of Nova Scotia around 1800 and had remained a sport dominated by Canadians for the next century. However, their dominance in hockey began to wane with the introduction of a new powerhouse, the Soviet Union. Once a team who had won 15 out of 20 international championships, the omnipresence of Canada was dashed when the Soviets began to defeat them in several global championships. This, alongside the brewing Cold War between the Soviets and Americans, would be the cause for a new kind of war. A war not fought with bullets, but with pucks. Canada had once been a dominant force in the global arena, never placing before second in the International Championship. However, in 1954, this changed when the Soviet team entered the International Championship and defeated the Canadians in the finals, starting a streak of losses to the Soviet team. In April 1972, the two countries set up an 8-game exhibition match to assert their dominance on an international scale, which would go down in history as the 1972 Summit Series. Leading up to the series, most Canadians expected an easy victory due to their perceived dominance in hockey, and thus Canadian players took their training lightly, which was opposite to the Soviet team. On September 2, 1972, the first match was played in the Montreal Forum. The inaugural game of the series ended with the USSR triumphing over Canada 7-3, silencing an entire nation. The Canadian public, once optimistic and supportive, turned against their own team, prompting star player Phil Esposito to confront them after their Game 4 loss.
But I don't think they will. I'm really disappointed. I am completely disappointed. I cannot believe it. Some of our guys are really down in the dumps. We know we're trying, but hell, I mean, we're doing the best we can, and they got a good team, and let's face facts. But it doesn't mean that we're not giving it our 150%, because we certainly are.
I think, Phil, the disappointment is...
After a short break, the Canadian team trained in Sweden for 3 days to familiarize themselves with the larger surface and European rules. After the 5th game held in Moscow, Canada was now trailing the series 1-3, and they could only hope for a miracle if they wanted to win. They won their next 2 games, leading up to the series finale. On September 28, 1972, Canadians across the country tuned into their televisions and radios to watch the match that would crown the dominant hockey superpower in the world. The Soviets announced that they would claim victory in the series since they led Canada by 1 goal overall. With 34 seconds left in the match, left winger Paul Henderson rushed down the ice, and...
Cournoyer took a shot, the defenseman fell over, the Afghan, and the Cournoyer has it on that wing. Here's a shot! Henderson made a wild stab for it and fell. Here's another shot, right in front of the score! Henderson has scored for Canada! Henderson right in front of the net! And the fans...
The 1972 Summit Series was a shining example of the adaptability of Canadians. After Canada's humiliating defeat in Game 1, they drastically changed their gameplay to match the Soviets' rapid and precise strategies. Despite the stigmas against the Soviet Union during the Cold War, Canada incorporated their opponents' strategies into their own gameplay to improve themselves. The Summit Series defined the versatility of our country during changing times, a trait that has become our emblem on a global scale. Canadians have been diligent throughout history, whether it be during their victory at Vimy Ridge or the disaster at Dieppe. However, it was the triumph in Moscow where the public began to realize the value of their grit. The series was watched by millions of Canadians, and by winning, they were shown that anything was possible with hard work. The Summit Series proved to be one of the most surprising, thrilling, and influential moments in Canada's history. Throughout the series' 8 matches, the country was exposed to 2 traits that would become their namesake in future years: their adaptability in tough situations and their perseverance in face of adversity. For many Canadians, the series gave them hope that if they worked hard, they may overcome any challenge that life may throw their way. Though the rich history of this country expands daily, there will never be an event as captivating as the 1972 Summit Series. Except for the 2019 NBA Finals.